Efforts to stabilize Libya are ongoing. In fact, the EU High Representative Federica Mogherini hosted a meeting of the European Union, the United Nations, the African Union and the League of Arab States. The meeting is in Brussels and it's aimed at discussing security developments in Libya. Now, the meeting is known as the Libyan Quartet and it's now meeting for the second time and expected to reaffirm its position in support of all efforts to combat terrorism in Libya. For more on this, we're joined by Jack Parrock, live for us in Brussels. Jack, to begin with, just tell us more about the Libya Quartet meeting and what's on the agenda.
Well, it seems now that the European Union is very keen that stability in Libya should be confirmed and supported by this Libyan quartet. On the agenda were things like how to combat terrorism, how to bring economic stability to Libya, and how to try to unify some of the warring forces essentially in Libya at the moment. They discussed the meetings in Abu Dhabi between General Haftar, who's in control of large parts of eastern Libya, and also Fayez al-Sarraj, who's the head of the government of national accord, the UN-backed government currently in charge of Libya. There are a lot of discussions about what is essentially a very, very complex situation in Libya at the moment. In attendance were the AU High Representative for Libya, Libya Quartet, the head of the UN support mission for Libya, Martin Kobler. He's someone we're likely to hear from a lot in the coming months, as we expect Libya to take a lot of pressure from the international community, and also the Secretary General of the League of Arab States, Ahmed Abul-Gait. So there were the hard hitters here, and they've also agreed that they will meet once again in Addis Ababa in the coming months.
And just bringing in events that have taken place in the United Kingdom, do you feel that there's an added urgency now or added pressure on the Libya Quartet to stabilize Libya, considering revelations that the attacker is of Libyan descent?
We've heard a lot in the recent, in the fallout from this attack in Manchester about the Libyan descent of the attacker. And I think there has been a general understanding in the international community that instability in a country, especially one where the so-called Islamic State group ISIL is operating, that essentially those instability allows terrorist organizations to operate and criminal organizations to operate. The High Representative of the European Union for Foreign Affairs, Federica Mogherini, has talked a lot about Libya since she's come into power, since she's taken her position as the foreign policy chief of the European Union. But I think she's felt frustrated often by support from other international players. But perhaps this Manchester attack might shed a little bit more light on Libya. At the moment, Libya really is only considered trouble as far as the migration crisis goes in Europe, because that's where many of the migrants that are entering the European Union are coming from. But now this issue may highlight the further need for stability in the North African country to try to bring, rid Libya of terrorists and terrorism on the whole.
We'll have to leave it there. Thanks very much, Jack Parrock, live for us there in Brussels on international community getting together to talk about stabilizing Libya, particularly in light of the Manchester attack.